Welcome, welcome to our Monday evening blab. This is Samantha Kelly, the tweeting goddess, and you have Anna Scheller, the sales queen, so we're glad that you're with us today. Today we're going to be talking about follow-up, following up with your sales leads. So first of all, I want to talk about 2 times that you should follow up with people. Most people don't think about this, but there are 2 times you follow up. One is when they buy, and one is when they don't. We're going to talk specifically about how to get back in touch with people when they don't buy without coming across like a pest. First of all, you have to remember there's a very important mindset that you want to keep always in front of you, and that is that you're not being a pest. What you are is you're being professional. You are doing what you promised to do, which is get back in touch with the customer to find out if they're ready to move forward and what extra information they might need in order to move forward. Many times people are still interested in getting in touch with you. However, life gets in the way. So Samantha, there are times when I heard this story, and it's a true story, that someone went to my sales mentor, Eric Lofholm, and said, I want you to write the sales scripts for my company. So he was all excited because this was going to be a pretty big account for him. This was early in his business. So he called the guy, and no answer. He called him again the following week, no answer. This went on for months. And most people would have given up. Well, finally, he called again. This was like about 6 or 8 months later. He called the guy again, and the guy picked up the phone, and he was expecting to get blasted. Like, can't you tell I'm not interested in talking to you? But the fact of the matter was that the guy said, you know what? I'm so glad you called. I haven't been able to get back in touch with you because my wife gave me divorce papers the following day. And so she owned half the company, and they had to sort all of that out in order for him to move forward with Eric. But of course, it wasn't really the time and place. So when people don't answer, it's not necessarily that they don't want to hear from you or they don't want to talk to you. Oftentimes, life just gets in the way.
Yeah.
Here's some follow-up statistics for people to keep in mind, and this is from the National Sales Executive Association here in the States, but I think it's pretty universal. First of all, only 48% of all salespeople never follow up with a prospect. So if you call the person the second time, you are beating half of your competition already. That's a pretty good statistic. If you call them a second time, you've now knocked out 75% of your competition. The fact of the matter is that only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. That's just 3 contacts, 3 times that you're calling. And the fact of the matter is that 80% of all sales are made on the 5th through the 12th contact. People have to hear the message again and again, and they're still contemplating what you have to say. So all of that means don't give up. Don't give up so easily. Don't give up so quickly. I have won more contracts simply through persistence, simply through calling them and saying, I'm just checking up with you. You hadn't made a decision the last time. I want to be sure you're still interested. Or if not, I'll simply take you off of my list. And more often than not, that even when people told me no and I called them back, they've often called me back and said, oh, you know what, this other thing didn't work out. Is this still available? So it really is, it's super important that we follow up. We just never know what's going to happen, how things are going to change. Now, if you're afraid that you haven't heard from the person and you're going to follow up with them and you want to make sure of where they're at, you can always have a script, something like this ready, so that If they do say, why are you calling me back? Well, you can say, based on the interest you expressed the last time we spoke, I'm following up to see if you're ready to move forward. If not, no problem. But always make it that you're following up based on their interest, on what they wanted from you, not what that you're trying to get a sale, but based on what they were telling you.
Yes.
You know? Now, there are some keys to follow up. One of them is that you're going to have to go make sure that you rebuild some rapport with the client. So let's say it's been a week. Person's been off doing other things, been pretty busy. When you call them, you still have to get back in rapport with that person. Maybe talk about a personal item that you had discussed with them before. When I did one recently, the gentleman told me that he was coming off of vacation. So when I got back in touch with him, I said, well, how was your vacation? You know, and he told me, and then we were able to get right back into business. So you do need to go back in rapport with the person, and then you want to reiterate what it was from the previous conversation that they said had interested them about working with you. Again, it goes back to what they were looking for when they first spoke to you, which also, again, makes it clear that you're following up based on their interest, not based on your commission. Now, you want to stay polite. You want to stay polite. I heard the story of, this is a true story. I can't believe this happened. Matter of fact, it was my daughter who was in sales. She had, this was when she was in digital media. She met with a lawyer, and the lawyer said, oh my gosh, this sounds like a great package. I just need to talk to my father who handles the finances for the business. So she had not made a sale in like 6 weeks, so she was pretty desperate. So she calls the lawyer on Monday, or the lawyer said, call me back on Thursday. So she calls on Thursday, and the lawyer doesn't pick up. She calls Thursday afternoon. The lawyer doesn't pick up. Friday morning, Friday afternoon. She does this every day for 5 days. Finally, the last day, she left a message, and she's having to leave voicemails the whole time. The last message was, I thought you were interested in this. Why aren't you picking up the phone? Okay, don't do that, because the person left her a voicemail saying, don't worry, we're not moving forward now. So it can be frustrating to get back in touch with a client, especially if you're feeling this is going to be a big client or whatever. You still have to treat them like you did the first time, which is with respect and with courtesy. So there are several techniques you can use to follow up with a client. I like to use 4 or 5 techniques when I'm working with a client. And these are techniques that you can schedule with people, Sam, so that you have the phone call, then the next day you can send them an email with a recap of your conversation. And then a few days later, you send them a handwritten note that says, gosh, it was really great to meet with you. Looking forward to chatting with you again. And then you can follow up with another phone call. And always your voicemail is very pleasant if you have to leave a voicemail. And most often, if you're persistent but courteous, people will respond. They will respond. Another way to follow up with people is if you've gotten their cell phone information, you can always text them. Hi, this is Anna. Just checking to make sure everything's going okay. Let me know a good time to get back in touch with you. One of the things I've been asked is if I leave a voicemail and I ask people to call me back and they don't call me back, what should I do? So what I tell my coaching clients, Sam, is I tell them, don't leave a voicemail asking them to call you back. In other words, let them know if you don't hear back from them, that you will be calling them back at a specific time, unless they let you know a different time. Again, it's not necessarily that people don't want to hear from you. It's that life gets in the way, or they get busy. So,
exactly.
So going back through our points here, one is keep in mind that when you're following up, the first phone call you make, the first time you make the second phone call, you're doing better than half of your competition. The second time you call back, you are now doing better than 75% of your competition. And keep in mind that most sales are made, 80% of all sales are made on the 5th through the 12th contact. That doesn't necessarily mean phone calls. It can be email, a goodie bag, a card, or a text message.
On Twitter. A direct message on Twitter.
Oh, a direct message on Twitter. Absolutely.
Or
How could I forget Sam? As a matter of fact, that's probably how Sam and I got to working together in the first place. Use a system. Use a system, and then track on your system when you end up getting the opportunity to speak with your customer again. Always remembering to maintain rapport, to stay polite, and treat it as if this was your very first conversation with them in terms of your attitude and your response to people. Don't take it personally. And if they say they're not interested, thank them. I would offer to put them on my newsletter, because you never know when they're going to need you again. And then call the next person on the list.
Perfect.
All right. Well, again, we want to thank you. At this time, we're going to go ahead and end the recording so that if there's anybody who has a question and would like to jump in, you can feel free, and we could maybe even do some role play. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when it comes to follow-up, it's the idea that, you know, when you're a child or when you're a parent, you know, it's always mom that says, did you send a thank you note to your auntie for that gift that you got? That's follow-up, right? Or you go to a wonderful dinner party and they said, did you send that bottle of that wine that they like so much to the couple that invited us? That's follow-up. And women do that better than men, because that's nurturing, right? That's kind of maternal instinct. And that's how you guys are wired for that. We just go to the dinner party, we eat the food, we ask for more dessert, and then we go home, right? And really, that's kind of, we're very grateful, but it's the follow-up after the dinner party. It's the follow-up after the great event that they invited you to go to a Broadway play together. That handwritten card that makes all of the difference. That thoughtful phone call that says, you know, you guys are amazing. Thanks so much for inviting us out. And it's no different in our private lives. It shouldn't be different in our private lives than it is in our professional lives, because if we care about those relationships, if we care about nurturing and growing our professional relationships, we should treat them the same way we do in our personal lives, and that means follow-up. And so if I had a chalkboard behind me, I would say that's another one for the women on follow-up. You simply do it better than men. And men, we can learn a lot from how our moms followed up, how our wives and loved ones follow up, and just model those behaviors, and we'd be better professionals because of it.
Interesting, because actually what you mentioned there, I do that on Twitter. So let's say I have to follow up on something and I haven't heard from them. Sometimes I go and see what they're up to, and I will retweet one of their tweets. So then I'm back on their radar straight away. So they're like, oh, Tweeting Goddess just retweeted you to 32,000 people. And then they go, oh gosh, actually I was supposed to ring Samantha back. You know, and that's how I get their attention. And usually they're like really happy because they got this retweet. So then they go, oh gosh, yeah, that's right, I forgot. And then next thing you're having a conversation again. That's how I do it. That's brilliant.
That's brilliant. It's the more touches, you know, back in the middle of the last century and the latter part, from 1950 until 1999, the model was it took 14 touches before, and that's what Madison Avenue did. You know, they could get you to smoke cigarettes by showing you 14 advertisements of the guy on horseback, the Marlboro Man, or the, you know, we were wired for that. You would eat Frosted Flakes and smoke Marlboros because they bombarded us with the content.
Yeah.
We have, in this century, we've grown to be too savvy for just bombardment. We crave real engagement. We crave real, and I'm not going to use the word authentic because I think it's overused, but real honest engagement, right? Where it's sincerely felt. It's not just BS, because we all have a highly tuned BS meter.
Oh,
we know.
do.
Oh, don't we? Don't we? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, my kids do. I tell you, as a matter of fact, I heard the story. It was a true story. And these people went to this church meeting, and the mom walked out, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, wasn't that preacher good?" And the girls were like, "I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. He was really pasty. Ugh. They didn't like him." Well, it turned out, and what he was doing was he was up there and he was talking to people, and he would say, you know, he would give personal details about different people and made it look like he was getting revelation. Well, what he did before the meeting is he would walk up to people and he would ask questions that gave him that information. Of course, nobody knew it. Then when he stood up on stage, he would find them in the audience and he would call them out, and then he would talk about personal details. And the kids knew it. The kids knew he was a fake.
Yeah.
And the mom was like, "You can't be serious." And later she found out. She said, "Oh, I guess I'll listen to my kids." You know, kids do have a very high. They're very intuitive, and they can see some things that we don't because maybe we want something so bad. So it is. We do have a very high. You know, we're now sensitive, and I think it takes actually more touches now because we do have to get past people's filters.
And I think I'm sorry, Sam, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, Sam, you go ahead.
Aww. You see, that's why he'll get the sale, because he's the gentleman.
He's nurturing. That's nurturing.
I was actually going to say that I think, though, that men are better salespeople. I do, because I think they've got less fear and they're more likely to get asked for the sale than a woman. I'm just throwing it out there.
I would push back on that, Sam, and I would say that in my way of thinking, sales is less about having the confidence to simply say, "Are we going to do this deal or not?" You know, that's asking for the sale. And more about seeking to collaborate with someone first to understand what they really need. Because this is a lesson I learned early in my sales career. It's the notion that I could be thirsty and you could sell me this bottle of water, right? If you were a water salesman and you said, "Art, are you thirsty?" And I said, "Yes," right? And you found a need. I'm thirsty. But the real reason that I need water is that I might be hypoglycemic and I need to hydrate urgently, otherwise I'm going to pass out. The thirst is the implied need. The explicit need is if I don't and get some protein, like a slice of bread or peanut butter, I'm going to pass out. If you sell to me based on my implied need, you might make the sale of the water. But if you found my explicit need, you could sell me the steak, the peanut butter, the loaf of bread, the things I need to keep from passing out. So,
oh, go ahead. All right.
So I'm going to say, no one really ever buys big when you found the implied need. When you collaborate with them to ask enough questions to understand what the explicit need is when you have really found what they need. And the explicit need requires a little more drill down, a little more patience, a little more thoughtful and insightful question that you're asking them to get them to talk more. So you can say, "So I understand that you're thirsty, but really what you need is something to eat now, because sure, you're thirsty, but if you don't eat soon, you're going to get really ill, right? And that's the difference. And I think if you're selling B2B or B2C, we always find the implied need first.
Mm-hmm.
It requires patience and a mentality that I'm going to collaborate with this person, asking thoughtful and insightful questions to find out what they really need, so we can collaborate to co-create the solution. Let's go to lunch and get something to eat. We better hurry up because I know you need it now, right? Which is different than saying, so you needed water, here you go. Okay, let's move on, what's next? You haven't really solved the problem. You've kind of just scratched the surface. And that, I think, women do better than men. And that's not asking for the sale. That's finding that's identifying the explicit problem and then doing something actively to go solve it. That I think is what modern selling is, because of that refined sense of intuition. That I think that you're just selling me the bottle of water because you happen to have one, or you happen to be a water salesman. But really, what I need is a peanut butter salesman because I need protein. Right? I mean, hey, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
How you doing?
Chris. Thank
How's
you for
everyone
joining
doing?
us.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you. Salesmen or women, I don't know. I think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's selling. It's to me, I agree with you, Art. I don't like to sell. I like to engage. I like to entertain. I like to improve people's lives. If you can do that, you're going to get what you want. And you don't actually look. I've been in television since 1990. My goal was always to entertain and engage an audience. And I call them viewers. I don't call them customers. I don't call them consumers. I call them viewers. So if you approach someone as a viewer, your number one objective is for them to like what you're doing. And if they don't like what you're doing, you're toast. You're off the air. So I've always done it that approach. I want people to be engaged and interested in what I'm giving them as far as content.
Mm-hmm.
That's my style. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's what I like to do.
I would agree with you there as well. I mean, I feel for me, well, I mean, you see, I always built relationships first, and then, the sales came afterwards. And then I also would show my expertise by doing, blabs or Twitter blog posts, whatever. But I have found, even though I've got all these opportunities, I have found that I am not, it's my own problem. Like it's what I do. I'm not good at getting the sale over the line and getting the right
customer.
Yes, the right customer. Yeah. I mean, it happened to me even this week. I had a brilliant customer, and then they said, "Oh, well, just for this month, would you mind And I needed the cash flow, so I gave in, and then I was so angry with myself because I was like, "Hang on, I am worth this much, and yet they got me down to this much."
That's a tough dilemma, Samantha. That's a really, really great question. Some situations when you're slow, you can say, okay, you know what? I'll take this project. When you're busy, you can't. So where do you take that balance? Where do you say, this is it? This is my product. This is what I'm selling it for. You want it? Great. You don't? No big deal. But we're human beings, okay? Don't beat yourself up on that. We're human beings, and at times, sometimes you say, you know what, darn it, this has been a slow week. Hey, and you're helping that person out at a lower cost point. You're also getting business that if you were sitting around doing nothing, you've lost valuable income. So it's a fine balance there. So don't beat yourself up on that one, okay?
I think, Sam, that when you're the authority that you are, that you should stand on that authority and I see you more as a magnet than as a salesperson. Mm-hmm. And the compelling ideas you have about how to grow a business based on the skills that you teach people, you make them smarter about how to use the tools that you have command of, and you stand on that authority, right? You stand in that place of power, and you know that when you bring somebody that power, that superpower, how to use Twitter to grow their business, how to use Twitter to grow community, and draw people to the top of the funnel, then nurture them through that process. When you stand on that authority, you are, you stand out from the crowd, from all the other people that talk about Twitter as a tool, because you confidently know that it works. You have proof that it works. You have social proof that it works. So I think that's when I say I think that you're more magnet, and people, when you allow people to be, when you say what you say, and you say it consistently, right, and you stand on that, you'll rise on the tide of the knowledge that you have, and be above the crowd, and will be drawn to you because of that authority. And there it makes you not have to sell. It makes you simply have to choose who you're going to do business with.
Yeah, and she can choose, though, every once in a while. Even the biggest brands in the world will give discounts every once in a while. It's a human being. And so it's okay. A lot of people say, well, I've got to stand by this price and I'm not moving. Well, you lose a lot of business that way, and we are all business owners. Now, I'm not saying cut your cost in half. That's not my point. You determine where you are at that week, that month, that situation. Everything changes. So, you know what? You keep it at a certain range, plus or minus 20%, and I think you'll be fine.
Okay, thanks. But that's what I thought was a weakness in the sales, kind of, I just thought that was a weakness.
There's negotiation, and I think this is where
Agree.
Men and women have different strengths when it comes to negotiation. We as women have to be wary that we don't allow our emotions to dictate our decisions. But on the other, so that's why I think it's important that we decide what our bottom line is going to be. Yeah. Because that helps us to get the flexibility.
Yes.
I had a situation last week in my housing business. Someone came in and I offered them a darn good price for the apartment for 3 months, and they're bringing pets to boot. And they came back and they said, well, can you come in $300 lower? And I looked at it and I'm thinking, what they don't realize is this apartment actually could rent for $200 more than what I offered it. So I said, no, that's it. But if you can find something else in that range that works for you, go for it. They called this morning and they said, we're going to take the apartment at that price, at the price I originally offered them. And so there's a time when you have to say no, but there's no, like Chris was saying, there's no hard and fast rules. There's just what works for you.
Be flexible.
To know what your bottom line is, and to guard your bottom line. But if you need cash this week and that's cash, then what you do is you seed that opportunity with an opportunity to work again with them or to continue the working relationship. So that doesn't mean that it's a dead situation. It means that it's an opportunity to create more business for yourself with that client. Because once they see the value you provide, then you can go back in and see what happened here. Let's talk about an ongoing relationship. What can you afford? This is what I can do for what you
nailed
can
it right
afford.
there. And not only that, Anna, that's a good point. What can you afford down the road? But it's a case study for a future client possibly, or a referral for you as well. So you've got to think of those things as well. So these are marketing tools for you when you can talk to people and work with people, even if it's a discount every once in a while. I'm not saying discount every time. Hey, look, you want to know what the biggest killer of small business owners? The number one is cash flow. They can have the greatest ideas. I'm a small business owner, been in business since 2008. I've dealt with brands as big as Budweiser, Verizon, Neiman Marcus. Wow. Guess what kills me at times? You know what Budweiser's invoice system is? 120 days.
Oh my gosh.
120. So I'm paying out people all the time, and people go, wow, you got Budweiser as a client. You are dominating. Yes, I am. But for 4 months, I didn't get paid, and I've got to pay my videographers, my editors, my camera guys, and all this. And I am like on fumes driving into the fuel station, fueling up at Bud Light to finally get paid.
I can identify with that. Yeah.
So don't, at the times, every once in a while, you see a hitchhiker, you pick them up and get that cash flow as an Uber ride. Okay? You got to do what you got to do at times. And that's the way it works.
I'm going to be the odd man out, and I'm going to say I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but I'll say this, that I think that when you look at value-based pricing, Value-based pricing says, I know that when you do this, that, and the other thing that I'm going to tell you to do, this is going to improve your business in these ways. And when you improve your business in these ways, it's going to improve from where you are. I can forecast that you're going to grow 20%. And if you're at $100,000 today and you're going to grow 20%, that's $20,000 additional in the next 12 months you're going to have. I'm going to participate in that win with you. And my participation is going to be, pick a number. Because if they're going to earn $20,000 and you say 50% of that, they have a choice, right? If you're telling me, Sam, in your experience that when I do these things that I'm going to grow, then and I'm going to get $20,000, why wouldn't I give you $10,000 of that? Because if I don't do these things, I don't have your expertise, I'm not going to get $10,000. I'm going to get buckus, right? So value-based pricing says I'm confident in the work that I do. I've got social proof. I've done it before. And if I can show you a way that you can improve your position this way, how would that help your business? And they go, well, being that you put it that way, it's going to help my business.
Art, I agree.
And then they end up selling themselves at that point. They say, well, Sam, when do we start?
I agree with you, Art. Art, 100% agree with you. But in this situation, every once in a while, I agree, you can't move that much. But every once in a while, flexibility can help you as a small business owner. So you cannot always stay at this one price and say, that is it. And you lose a lot of business that way. But you've got to stand. I understand what you're saying. You've got to stay firm most of the time. And I don't alter that much. I want you to know that.
I think it's not about standing firm as much as it is standing firm here, knowing that you have real value.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't believe in your own value, I'm not going to believe in your value. And when you can present to me a case that says, based on my experience in working with businesses like yours and doing these things, here's what's going to happen in your business, and here's how your business will change. If they say, well, I don't believe that, okay, next customer. I'm not going to give my time away to someone who doesn't really invest in what I just told them. I don't have the time. I don't care. I could be on the dregs. I'm not going to change the trajectory of my business to do business with somebody that says, well, Art, no, I don't know if I believe that, but I'm willing to give you 50 cents on the dollar to come and see if it works.
No, I'm not saying that. Okay, this is good. This is a good. I like this little conversation here, by the way. So I'm going to agree and disagree. So Art, what you're saying is so true. I'm not saying to drop your pricing. I'm saying adjust in maybe you don't give them as many hours. Maybe you don't give them as much content. Maybe so. I can only use mine as an example. So someone says, "Hey, I know I want to spend this amount of dollars." Well, we don't do that for that price. But you know what I can do for you instead is instead of doing 10 videos, I'll do 6 videos. So I lower my production to fit their budget. I'm sorry, I did not clarify that. When I say come down, I'm giving the production out less of what I'll do. So that's video wise from my perspective. I've been doing videos since 1990, so I can only go with that. But maybe it's blogging. Okay, so what do you typically do? Well, I charge X amount to blog. Oh, that's too high for me. Okay, instead of 100 blogs a month, I'll do 50 for your price point. So what I'm saying is change your out point to match their budget. Is that better?
And I think it goes back to what Anna was saying, which is know your floor price. No, and this goes back to when you're working in your business, you're just trying to make money.
Yeah.
When you're working on your business, you know what your floor is. You know what your cost of doing business is. You know what your cost of sales is. You know what the business key performance indicators are. Now you're working on your business and you're not wrapped up in it. When you're wrapped up in it, you'll sell your services or your product for any price, right? When you're working on your business, which takes time to get to that point, you are working toward having an exit strategy even. Because now when you're working on your business will run all by itself without you. And when it's running without you, it can be sold to someone else who wants that book of business. When you're working in your business and somebody says, I'd really like to buy your business, it looks like you're doing amazing, and then they do an x-ray of your business, they realize you're so wrapped up in your business, you can't sell it.
I think
you have to sell your soul.
Art, I think you read E-Myth Revisited. Right? Yeah. That's the book
Yes,
right
yeah.
there. Don't work in your business, work on your business.
Well, let's take
yeah.
this conversation. I'm sorry, let's take this conversation back to who's better, men or women. And I think in everything that men have certain strengths they bring to the table that can better your business and get you more sales. Women have strengths because they can drill down a little better. Actually, we women, we can ask a lot more questions than you boys and not sound like we're interrogating.
Hey, wait a minute. My nickname is Mopra.
Is it
Male
Oprah?
Mopra, male version of Oprah. So don't do that male women
Oh, I
thing.
see now generalizations aren't working anymore. Oh, dear.
That's too funny.
But
That's
No,
hilarious.
I think women are awesome. I love my. Okay, so let me give you something. As a man, I was raised. My dad died when I was 13 years old. My mom raised me and 6 kids by herself. So I have the utmost respect for women because women, been such an influence on my life. I had sisters raising me, my mom raising me, and she never remarried. And so to me, men are dogs. I mean, we're nothing without women. Women, are you liking this, Art? Are you liking this? We got to get them on our side, you know? So I was raised by my mom, and I just think y'all are so powerful in everything you do, and love women and moms. That's all I got to say.
well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I come from the whole sales perspective, and you know, I've been selling a long time on the technology side of the sales conversation, and I think what I believe is really more based on the notion that let me say it this way, because women nurture better than men do. Men, Chris and I, we see something broken, we get a hammer, some duct tape, we're gonna fix it.
Oh, I can't
Right?
fix anything, man. I go hire someone to do that.
Hire somebody to do it, right? But we're gonna. It's just not gonna take any time. A woman will look at the same thing and say, "Well, what's the problem? Well, how many different ways can we fix that? What's the most efficient way? And do I want to just re-engineer it all together instead of having a coffee table? Maybe I want a countertop, right? And in that process, that's where the notion of collaborating comes from.
Mm-hmm.
That's the notion of real conversation comes from. What are we really trying to accomplish? And I think that's what sales has become today. I mean, there were days, there was a time when I was selling and you could go in and you could compliment the decision maker on his tie, look at the family photo on the credenza and say, what a lovely family, see a tennis racket in the corner of the office and say, you play tennis, I play tennis. You know, you're trying to build a relationship so you have a basis for doing business. And then you would say, do you want me to deliver it on Tuesday or Thursday? The alternate choice close, right? Mm-hmm. Those things worked in 1988, in 1999. And that's what I was saying earlier. We're kind of too savvy for that today. We know when we're being sold.
Yeah.
We don't want to be sold anymore. We want somebody that's got authority in the work that they do. Chris comes in and says, look, I've been in TV this long. I've been doing video for like 15 years. Tell me about what you're trying to accomplish. And Chris automatically stands on his authority. Mm-hmm. But if it was Christine that did the same thing with the same background, it's just authority that I'm buying. It's not the gender, right? It's the authority. And when you confidently stand in that authority, right? When you know that you know your stuff and you know how to deliver your stuff and you deliver it at a price point that's appreciable and you know how it's going to change the trajectory of somebody's marketing campaign or their business, that's authority. And I think that's what people want to buy today. And that's not, do you want purple or red? It's not selling. You lead with authority and you say, well, Mr. Customer, I know that you think that's too expensive. $100,000 is too much.
And the reason that's true is there's so much information and so much content out there that if you don't stand out and you don't become authoritative, then you will get lost in the shuffle. So what you're saying, Art, is nails on, man. So the problem is there's so many people talking. There's so many people blabbing. There's so many people chatting. There's so many people tweeting and Facebooking and Pinterest and blah, blah, blah. If you can't get great content and get it out there directly and on point, you're toast. So you've got to be, like you said, you've got to have some experience behind you. You've got to know what you're talking about, but you've got to be able to tell it in a concise manner. And it's really difficult.
Here's the thing, Chris, and I'll build, and this is genderless. This is the androgynous.
Two kids just run behind me. It's crazy around here. I got 4 kids. I'm on a live show. Get out of here. No. Where's mom? That's when women need to take over. Where's mom?
Oh, go on, Art. What were you saying?
So this is the androgynous, right? Androgynous means it's genderless, right? And
I got to look up that term.
I'm listening to Chris and I'm saying, wow, this guy really knows video. He's really got a nice delivery. I'm going to knock off Chris. I'm going to put my shades on like Chris, and I'm going to talk like Chris. I'm going to do video like Chris. Right? I'm just, whatever he does, I'm going to do. And because Chris is in a different part of the country, I could try to be Chris. But as soon as somebody says, hey, that's the black Chris, that's not, he's just doing what Chris does. He's not original.
You're the Mo Chris. Mo Chris.
I'm the Mo.
He's the knockoff.
But when I say, you know, video's important, and I've learned from Chris that video's important. I've learned that the way Chris approaches video is really neat. But I have another twist on that. I have the Art Jones twist on that I'm going to put me into that scenario. And it began as Chris because I learned from Chris. But then I took what I learned from Chris and made it my own.
Yeah, you got to be your own man.
When I rise above, it's made by, they don't see me as being like Chris. They see me as like Chris, but different and uniquely Art Jones with the video play. And I think that's when we think about what Anna does with sales training and with the housing, the rental properties, and what Samantha does with Twitter and tweet chats. If we are trying to be somebody else, we're not being who we really are, and that's when we're stuck in the noise. We're stuck at that level with the crowd. But when we stand up, we believe is when we stand out. And I think Chris and Sam and Anna would agree that whole notion of standing up for what you believe is when you step into your authority. And most of us it takes time, because I'll use myself as a case in point. You know, I've read a lot. I've done a lot of work. I've been on the sales side for a long time, but I wanted to do this thing, right? I wanted to write a book. And in the writing of the book, I had to say, as I'm in the process, who's gonna believe this? They're gonna read Chris Brogan. They're gonna read Guy Kawasaki. They're gonna read Seth Godin. Why are they gonna read your book? And it wasn't until I looked in the mirror and I said, you know, your ideas are worthy.
Yeah.
You've got good stuff. Just do it. And that's when I stood and stepped into the authority of who I am and what I bring to the party. And that's when I began to see myself rise above the noise, because my ideas might be built on Aristotle's ideas and on Gary Vaynerchuk's ideas, but they're mine now.
Yeah.
And I are taking them my way.
What you're doing is you're learning from others, and you're taking those skill sets and adapting them to what you are. And you're not gonna. You may take one from here, one from there, one from there, but it's yours. You own it. You've got to own what you have. You can't replicate other people. That's what you're saying.
Hundreds of years ago, Aristotle and Plato and Socrates said it 2,500 years ago, and people think, well, they've already said it. How could I possibly integrate it and make it my own? Well, just make it your own, and that's what authority comes from. And there's a study that looks at the relationship sale, the problem solver sale, the challenger sale. And the challenger sale is somebody that stands in their authority and says, you know what? I know you don't want to do tweet chats. I know you think that they're crazy.
I love tweet chats.
But this is what authority is. And the authority says that, have you considered that when you do this and do this, you get that? And they go, I never really thought of it that way. You have the authority to challenge them when they said, I don't get it, or I don't believe.
Yeah. And
you challenge them with the authenticity of your ideas. It said, I've done these things. And you recall a past story of when you had success for another business. But if you don't have the confidence to stand there when somebody pushes back hard and challenge them, because because you're the authority, then you have to resort to sales tactic.
Mm-hmm. Can I just, yeah, sorry, I thought you were finished. There's a bit of a delay here. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
No, go ahead, Sam.
No, you were saying about.
Hey.
Oh, hi. Hello. You see, it's 11:30 here at night, so my children are not here. Hi.
It makes you look good, Chris.
You say hi.
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 You're very pretty. You must take after your mother, do you?
Hey now.
We're trying to get him on your chats.
She's been on Google Hangout. She was on a Google Hangout with 1.2 million followers, and it was called Cooking with Kids.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
So my kids are used to being on live stuff all the time, right?
Good
So
for
tell 'em
you. What's your name?
Julia.
Julia. That's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
I agree with Sam. I think you take after your mother.
Yeah.
She's 11.
I have a 15-year-old daughter.
Oh yeah.
And she's my baby. I have 7 kids, by the way, Chris. So when you said you came from a family of 7 children.
Whoa! I love it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And that's a modern family.
I know, and she's not even Irish.
I've got 4 of my own. Here's another one. Come here. Oh, she says no. So I got 4. It's fun though.
I'm gonna just tell one story because I will have to go soon. I'm actually really tired. It's 20 to 12 here now. So, but there is one story that I just wanted to tell. This is true. Like I got asked to speak in the UK recently, and I was like, "Oh, great!" And I was like, "Well, where did you hear about me?" And he said, "Oh, a lady from New Zealand on Blab told me to contact you."
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
What? But how? Because the lady, Juanita is her name, was on one of my blabs when I was talking about Twitter. So she knew that I was, I approved my authority in that area so that when this gentleman was looking for someone, they got me. And when I went over, I was actually really nervous. And I was like, oh my God, these are all big marketing guys. And they were mostly men as well. And I just said, oh God, maybe they're going to discover I'm just a big fraud, But you know what? I got a brilliant testimonial off the whole room that they're all tweeting. They're all like tweeting to me still now. They all did it like testimonials, and it was just amazing. And I was like, God, and it really just blew my mind because I didn't realize the effect I would have had, because they were really cynical. That's, they're really cynical about Twitter when I walked in, and I love the power of turning that around by the end of the session.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You are a powerful lady. You're a very powerful lady, Sam.
That was just really nice, But that's where, if you can turn that cynical person around that doesn't get it, or I don't do Twitter, like they're actually the ones I love the most,
They're the best.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys having me on the call. I got to pop off too. Thank y'all so much.
Okay, thanks for
Good
joining.
to meet you. Nice
See you guys.
Thanks for
stuff.
joining us, Chris. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I got to get home. My kids told me that dinner's in 20 minutes, so I got to get there so I can have dinner with my kiddos.
Mom's
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry that I have to go as well. Look, don't forget to end the
recording.
recording.
We're all going to go.
Don't forget to end the recording, Anna. And
No, I
Art,
won't
thank
forget.
you so much for joining us.
I won't forget.
Always a pleasure to see you. Always.
We need to take it from the top and really do a whatever the theme was, and I promise I will jump on time as opposed to a half hour late.
Battle of the Sexes, yes. I love it. Yeah, we will. I'm going to stop the recording.
I told